One of the best depictions of the American frontier is in Red Dead Redemption 2, which although places you into a fictional America, gives off the atmosphere perfectly. However, has there ever been a chance for a Red Dead game to be based anywhere else but the American frontier? Could it be possible? After living in the United Kingdom for a year now, my girlfriend, who's also a big Red Dead fan, gave me the idea to make this video. So without further ado, let me present to you what if Red Dead Redemption took place in the UK. The Queen is dead. The year is 1901. The British Empire is at its most powerful right after the end of the Industrial Revolution. Let me introduce you to the world. At the center is London, a modern metropolis. It's corrupt like all great cities are, with aristocrats and politicians doing deals on every corner like they're selling crack. To the west, Wales and Cornwall, which is littered with farmers and mining towns, similar to Ansburg but on a much bigger scale. Bandits hang around robbing weary travelers and the unlucky. And finally, smugglers trying to make a quick buck. Now to the north, we have the Midlands, the heart of the country. Bustling cities packed with filthy factories, covered in smog from dusk till dawn, and gangsters running their rackets. Finally, where our story begins, is the wild north, the Scottish Highlands, which is secluded but slowly being industrialized, just like the rest of the British Isles. Gangs aren't the only ones who call this place home, as poachers in many Scottish clans have a large political and territorial influence in the area, the final secluded frontier, besides the Wild West. We play as Arthur Morrison, a former highwayman who, along with his gang, used to terrorize the wild north and Midlands. However, when a bank robbery went wrong, the gang scattered, with many of them being shot or hanged following the robbery. However, a handful survived, and were able to go into hiding. One of them being Arthur, who escaped to Cornwall and chose to live a modest life, starting a farm with his wife and children. Arthur planned on living the rest of his life in obscurity, working the land and raising his children. However, destiny had other plans. Out of the few members of the gang that had survived was Horatio Silas, their leader, who over the past years didn't take any breaks, but grew in notoriety, getting connected with every criminal he could find. In 1901, Horatio took his crimes to a new level by assassinating a politician, which made him the most wanted man in the kingdom. Everyone wanted a piece of him for different reasons. The government wanted to hang him for all to see. The workers saw him as a hero, and then there were the Irish rebels who wanted to use him. That is where Arthur's story starts, on a brisk Sunday morning, which would bring a lot of visitors to his little homestead in the little town of Wickerton. He had just returned home from town when his son ran up to him, saying,
"Papa, some men were just here asking for you. They all spoke with a funny accent and said they would return later today."
Arthur, unsure what to think, readied his firearms, which had been gathering dust for years, hidden under the floorboards of his home. As it became night, the stomping of horse hoofs filled the quiet void of the English countryside. Arthur's family hid in confusion while he stayed to face the sins of his past. A posse rode up. These men didn't sound Irish at all, but instead were dressed extremely elegantly and spoke with a strong English accent. These men were what came to be called the Royal Secret Service. They were armed, but weren't looking for a fight. They were looking for Horatio Silas. Arthur had not heard the news of the assassination, so was shocked to hear that there was a national manhunt for Horatio, a person who he once saw as an older brother. Arthur was grabbed and taken away, as the Secret Service had a big plan for him, which would take him all over the British Isle. Arthur was brought to London, where he was put in front of none other than the Prime Minister of the UK, Archibald Cavendish. He spoke to Arthur, plainly explaining,
"Either you find and kill Horatio Silas, or we put you away for all of your past crimes, Mr. Morrison."
So Arthur saddles up once more to venture back up north to find Horatio. And that is where our journey truly starts. This is where the exploration and open world features really start, as you go from place to place and meet different people and factions. The map will open up from just being in a little village to the surrounding lands and towns, showing the UK in the start of the 1900s. The game would have several features similar to Red Dead with hundreds of animal species, horses which are specific to the land, and events to discover while you're wandering through the English plains, hills, and towns. Along with that, there's of course an extravagant amount of threads you can customize your outlaw with. And of course, as this is in England, there'll be a minigame about pouring pints and drinking as many of them as you can. You'll recognize random encounters and events similar to the real world, like references to Jack the Ripper, and once you make your way up north, you might even catch a glimpse of the Loch Ness Monster. Arthur's journey takes him firstly to the mining towns, similar to Ansburg. These towns, subsequently after the assassination, erupted in revolts and strikes, so his first mission was to make it through the mining towns, which due to the commotion were locked off. There, Arthur would help on both sides, hearing the tale of Horatio, who had been there not too long ago, and the murder which had set the nation aflame. Along with that, he gets involved with people that remind him of his family and help him along the journey. The final mission of this chapter will let you choose whether to help the workers or the government, which would send shockwaves through the country and change the world and how people perceive you. The next chapter would take you to a city similar to the size of Saint Denis, however with factories lining every street and smog so thick that birds would fall from the skies at random events. If you think Angelo Bronte's men were ruthless, imagine gangsters which are similar to Peaky Blinders, wandering the streets day and night. Once Arthur makes it into the city, he will investigate the rumors of Horatio. However, during his investigation, he would be kidnapped by no other but the Irish rebels, who themselves are also out on the look for Horatio. They see him as a symbol of rebellion against the UK and want to use him as a match to ignite the revolution all across Ireland. Following his kidnapping, Arthur would work alongside the rebels, diving into shady activity all across the Midlands, visiting several cities, also getting involved with gangsters, which would lead him closer to the whereabouts of Horatio. This chapter would culminate with another important decision, which would impact your honor and fame. Either you help the rebels in their missions, or turn on the rebels, moving forward by yourself into the wild north and face Horatio Silas. In this final chapter, a shift would be felt in the game, as the climates would be significantly different in the north. The landscape would be another big change, with mountains, islands, and a rugged coastline unlike anything you would have seen prior to this in the game. This is the last frontier in the British Isles, and also the last step in Arthur's journey. This chapter would focus on the relationships between the Scottish clans and how the tight-knit societies in the Scottish Highlands get manipulated by Horatio. The first half of this chapter centers around Arthur journeying and finding his way to the Highlands, and this involves him befriending a few people on his way there, which explain the factions and the latest news and whereabouts of Horatio. When in the Highlands, Arthur gets to familiarize himself with each clan. While getting a hold of his surroundings, finally, after 12 years, Arthur encounters the man he used to look up to and think was a brother he never had. Horatio Silas this whole time was able to become a close friend of the Scottish clans, granting himself protection in a place where there is no law. As we get to the last few missions, Arthur knows that he must bring an end to Horatio, or the entirety of the Scottish Highlands will go ablaze in a civil war, which could engulf the entire country. So before all the clans will begin an all-out war, Arthur must take this into his own hands and put a bullet into Horatio's head. So Arthur, along with a couple of his companions from some of the Scottish clans, break into Horatio's compound, attempting to bring an end to the chaos. However, they are too late, as Horatio has already made his way to the docks, attempting to depart for the United States, where he would be able to disappear and start over. Arthur races to the port to halt him and is able to make it onto the ship, chasing Horatio through the ship and almost sinking it, to then putting a bullet through his heart, ending the matinee of mayhem. Arthur is able to return back home, but not for long, as the Royal Secret Service comes a calling for him to pay for what Arthur did in his prior life. Arthur in that moment can decide whether he gives up and lets the law take him away in front of his whole family, or go back out there, back on the run, like he has been for most of his life. The choice is up to you. In conclusion, I personally think Red Dead Redemption is able to take place in the UK despite the changing circumstances and different conditions. But of course, it is up to you to decide. I think that this shows that a game like this doesn't have to be built around something like Peaky Blinders, but can be something new and involving many different aspects of the British Isle during that era. I hope all of y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all sooner than you think.